against? That's carried. Great, thank you. Andrew, do you want to run us through capital? And I'm sure you're going to preempt all my questions.
Never a clue what they were. No, I'll try to, if you'd like me to. Kia ora koutou, katoa. So I've just got a few key points I want to highlight from the report. Firstly, I'd like to start with some positive news and just some project successes recognised over the last month. I think a couple worth mentioning are the ones associated with Sail GP, the work associated around the Naval Point project and the Godley Quay roading project. I think a few months ago, looking at some of the targets and achievements required there were some pretty demanding requirements, and they were met really well. So congratulations to those teams, and good to see the Performing Arts project getting underway with some concrete pours in the last month to see some really good progress in those areas. So just sort of call those ones out. In terms of the trends across the program, you can see that Three Waters program's gently trending upwards. In terms of their project managers' accumulated forecasts, that's probably countered by transport gently trending downwards. So that leads us to say, from a program level perspective in the PMO, we want to hold our line on the forecast finish for core infrastructure of $390 million, Sam. We do a lot of analysis behind that. We look at the actuals year to date and the trend lines. We look at the forecasts from the project managers and those trend lines, and we have a pretty good idea of where those things sort of intercept. So the PMO's forecast across the total program, with all things taken into account, we would be still forecasting that 390 million year-end position. And I suppose that sort of leads on to talking about the carry forward process, and just to remind you of what goes on there. So with that 390, obviously the obvious thing to sort of conclude there is, well, what do you do with the carry forward money when compared to the budget of, it's around about 470, I think it is off the top of my head. So you've heard through our briefings that we target a net zero carry forward through the year-end process. We're still doing that. We're still looking for that. It takes into account bringbacks. That's money spent ahead of budget. Bringbacks and carry forward. So in the bringback space, for example, we've brought some budgets back already from the future years to get things done quicker this year to help with deliverability. Some examples of those sorts of projects are ones like Diamond Harbour, Naval Point, Ngāpunawai Car Park. It's a few of the cycleways, some wastewater renewals, Eastern Terrace water supply. Those are projects that have been delivered well this year that have used budgets from future years. So it creates a hole in the future years. So already you've got some space to put some carry forwards into that place, and the carry forward process looks at, it doesn't just dump everything on the immediate next year. It looks at whether there's project budgets in that year and beyond for any given project, and places the carry forward in the most sensible place. So it doesn't all go into FY24. It goes into wherever that project is phased, and it may go at the end of the project, depending on what its progress is. So there's a bit of complexity and quite a bit of analysis goes on around that. So as we've always said, we'll target net zero, and there's all sorts of moving parts with bringbacks, carry forwards, project phasing, and things changing. And I guess that is the advantage of having a sort of a program management type approach. Look at the deliverability, gives you that kind of flexibility to balance budgets and smooth things out across the total program, rather than being constrained by accountants' financial year beginnings and ends. So we'll continue to monitor that and look at how we can achieve that objective. Two other quick things just to say before any questions. We've highlighted the emerging risk of the after effects of Cyclone Gabriel. It is quite difficult to determine what impact it have on the market here, particularly in Canterbury. If anything, it's probably unlikely to ease any of the inflationary pressures that we currently experience. But in terms of resourcing, Still to be determined, but my view is it won't have a great impact on our resources, provided we continue to engage well with the suppliers and the market and keep the work coming up to them. That allows suppliers to resource appropriately and balance their workloads. And just in terms of sort of context, some of the estimates around Gabriel recovery are getting quite high, into the billions of dollars. That's not all public sector, but a private sector stuff through insurance. Some estimates I've seen recently are in the order of $4 to $8 billion. For a bit of comparison, the Kaikoura earthquake Nectar project was about 1.4 billion. Skirt a few years back was 2.2 billion. So in terms of scale, it's potentially a pretty big deal up there in terms of recovery from Cyclone Gabriel. So we'll continue to watch that and just see what sort of impact it has on our market here. But the important thing is we keep talking to our suppliers and keep a consistency of workload coming up to them. Which leads me to my last point in terms of industry engagement. As you know, the draft annual plan's out in the community. As part of that, you probably will have seen the interactive budget tool, the bubble diagrams, that helps suppliers sort of get a bit of a handle on what we're doing going forward. We also supply some information to Te Waihanga, the New Zealand Infrastructure Commission, to inform their national pipeline. So the data that we have from the draft annual plan is fed into Te Waihanga. That sits alongside every major asset owner's data that they publish. So it gives industry and New Zealand Inc., I suppose, a good perspective on what's coming up in the future. We've actually had some really good feedback from them recently about the quality of the data that we've provided to them. We do that on a quarterly basis, so it was nice to get that feedback that we're providing them with some really good, accurate information. And over the coming month or two, we're going to start our supplier engagement sessions on the back of the draft annual plan to talk with contractors and consultants about the workload ahead. We do industry briefings a couple of times a year. This time we're going to talk to individual service areas, and I've been talking with the heads of service areas and procurement about our approach there. So we'll be a bit more targeted this time and talk to the three waters consultants and contractor panelists, and then we'll go to the transport area and parks and rec as well. We'll do them, so it's kind of more work for us, but we'll get a better quality conversation and engagement with those individual sector areas rather than doing a big sort of broadcast. So a bit of work ahead of us there to keep the suppliers close with our intentions and plans over the next year and beyond.
Thank you very much. And it'll be no surprise, I want to understand, I know you've covered it, the 390, right? Because in my mind, I'm just looking at, it's literally page 2, where we've got the projections for the year, and we've got the remaining to hit the target, right? And there's probably two questions in it. When was the last time the 390 was revised? Like, have we held that, looking back at the papers, it looks like it was certainly pre-election, maybe August, September?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We made that assessment back then, and we look at it every month.
Yep. We
look at the spend and the forecasts, and we've held that line since that time.
Right.
But it's not to say, we're not looking at it. We look at it monthly and strike that position. So we've been consistent in our assessment of that.
So I guess the logic test, just in really, really simple terms, I'm looking at that on page 2, the graph the table that's got forecast, actual, and percentage, right? And so we've held that number, that the sort of the monthly cash flow at that rate. So it hasn't changed for that time, but we haven't actually achieved the forecast within that for that time. So what I'm trying to work out is, if we haven't been achieving the milestones from when that number was revised, how's that number credible now in terms of us getting to the end of the year and having to pump more in when we haven't actually hit our targets along the way? Does that make sense?
Not entirely, no.
Okay, well, let me phrase it. I'll put it even more. And sorry, I do overcomplicate things, but effectively what I'm saying is, if the number hasn't changed since, say, August, September last year, but we haven't been hitting the milestones from that point till now, what gives us confidence that from now till the end of the year we will do above and beyond to get to the 390?
Okay, so the important thing to understand is there's two approaches to the forecast. The 130 odd project managers that run 1,000 odd projects all do a forecast on their individual project.
Yep.
That's the yellow bars in the report.
Right.
So they make an assessment of where they're going to spend their money by an individual project, and that accumulates to the 428.7 million.
Right.
That's if you just with all their
Okay.
assessments and individual knowledge, optimism, bias, negativity, whatever it is, that's their opinion. We step back at a program level and go with unders and overs, with year-to-date spend rates, extrapolating them with year-to-date forecasts, which trend generally downwards. They eventually meet at a point. So we do analysis across each of the service areas and then roll them up, and we get to 390. And we look at previous year's performance as well as this year's performance. So we've got a pretty good data set and a pretty good feel. It's not to say they're all wrong. It's just a different perspective on the assessment of the total program spend.
Perhaps to put it a different way, which graph, again, I'm taking it in the public visibility, people looking at it, which graph should I be looking at which points out your monthly forecast versus the capital spend? Which one is that shows me that your forecast at the 390 is hitting its stride the whole way through?
The one at the bottom of page 2 is the aggregated project managers forecast. That's the data that we get out of the project management system.
Yeah, but aren't you saying you don't agree with that data?
We have a different assessment of it. Yeah.
So where is you? So perhaps put a different way. And
I haven't got those workings in this paper, but I
because what I want to see, and maybe it's something that the team need to take offline is it's great the project managers are feeding it through, but actually from the PMO office point of view, I want to get your assessment of actually the 390 forecast and how we're tracking against that.
I can have a discussion with you separately about that, or we can include it in the paper if you wish.
It would be useful because the project managers, they're doing a fantastic job, but actually to me, I kind of want your assessment of their work fed into a report. So is that something you guys can take offline and feed through to the next one?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Problem. Got it.
Aaron.
Well, just to follow up on that, like when the public look at that, they'd go, why, when the weather's so crap in June, do you spend the most money? And it's over double most months spend. And Sam's point that other than November, the green's always behind, and then it's cumulative when it's 5 odd million a month that it's behind. And then, so obviously the green bar in June's miles bigger than the yellow bar, which is always miles bigger than everything else. But why does it happen like that? Just a simple layman's term.
This is a bit of accounting. Russell might help me with this one. Basically, it's a year-end process where the accruals that go in June also pick up some of the July accounts as well. So it's a year-end adjustment, which is why it forecasts up higher than other months. It generally, if you look at July, the first
Really
month is
low,
really
yeah.
low.
Yeah,
So it kind of all
balances out.
but it's an accounting adjustment at year end with the accruals that get put into June. So oftentimes it's talked about as a double month, but it doesn't usually get to double. But it usually gets more than 100% of what an average month would be.
So
because of
it's
that year-end adjustment.
not double the amount of work done, just double the amount of bills paid.
Double accounting, yeah.
Right.
Double the amount of bills paid in that period. Yeah. Anything to add on that?
It's like the government budgets, get it all in before month end, before year end. Celeste.
Thanks, Andrew. 'Cause the work is rolling, so we do a tighter month end as possible each month, but there's going to be stuff that's ongoing. So I guess what we're saying here is June, because it's year end, there's more vigilance around that period to make sure that everything that's done in June that can be booked in June is booked in June. So there'll be some extra go in. That's we'll have a look at that. Yeah.
Great. Celeste.
Just looking at paragraph 3.5 around the three waters forecast, I see it's tracking really well with 89% of the budget being delivered. Do you foresee, like you do with some other projects, some bringbacks or do further delivery of some of those individual projects?
I mentioned couple of them before, so there has been bringbacks. Yeah, some of the wastewater renewal programs definitely have bringbacks, and what was that other one? Eastern Terrace water supply. Yeah, so it's the program allows that flexibility.
That's
So there's
great.
always bringbacks and carry forwards, and
And I'm aware that there was a few consenting challenges as they work through, and I know there's
Yeah.
some work going on at the moment. There may be some further adjustment around some of those projects.
yeah, most likely. Yep. Yeah.
Hey, I'm happy to move this. Oh, Yanni, you'll second it that way.
Happy to second
Yep.
it. Yeah,
So-
I just had questions in regards to the craft projects, and I know that they're on the watch list as well. But how do we get visibility within the specific craft projects that are being that work is progressing? I mean, do you want watch list questions now, or
Yeah. I'm happy.
okay?
I
So the
can-
Linwood Craft.
I can answer that one. As written at the top of the CREF report, detailed reports are going back through each of the community boards over March. Unfortunately, for one community board, the staff couldn't get in until later in April. But all of that information will be provided quarterly to community boards as listed in the report.
So do you must have
And it's due to happen now.
you must have in the budget in the program that all the IT programs that we've got to measure performance. You must be able to track how much spend is happening against each project and what stage
Yep.
each project's at.
Yep.
So I'm sort of puzzled why that needs to wait for a community board briefing rather than be provided to the local councillor. Is there any way that we can get that information ahead of waiting for another 2 months?
Well, it's not 2
The
months.
staff will
We're at
provide
the
it
end
to
of
the
March now.
community board as
Of April.
agreed through the community board reports that are prepared for the community board briefings.
Yeah. I get your point, Yanni, but what I'd quite like to do is just can we let the community board briefings run, and then maybe you and I have a chat after that if there's more information you need, and we can sit with Lynette and Lynn or Mary or Leah or whoever to sort that out.
But surely this is the Finance Committee of Council, and we
Yes.
should have a right to know
Yanni,
how much money has been expended
Yep.
against that
and
budget.
you will obviously just realise we've just been through a financial report. We've had Russell at the table to discuss that. We've also had a capital report being gone through now. But ultimately, you've got an answer, which is they're going to the community boards in this month. Your community
It's not
board,
this month, it's the end of April.
Yanni, if you let me finish, that would be really helpful. As Lynette mentioned, if you were listening, your community board is next month because they cannot schedule it this month. So what I would like to do is let them do that, and then we will work out a solution if you're not happy after that. So have you got a different question?
What confidence can I have that the craft timelines that the community has been given are being met?
Nothing has been flagged that there has been any changes, or have I misread the report? No. Right. Anything else?
In terms of the surf projects and the Streets for People, do you think it'd be useful to have a watch list on those as well? So that, given that we've
We've asked for that, so that will be coming
have you?
through. Yep.
Yeah,
That will
those
be coming
projects
through
just
once it's
being
all
set
set
up.
up.
So there's not much to
Yeah.
is it going to be the
got
individual?
that on. We've got a note of that to include those details, probably similar to the craft watch list, be at a program level. Yeah.
Is it possible to get it at a project level rather than at a program level?
I think what we've requested of Lynette, and I know Dawn raised it straight after the meeting, was that we want some reporting back to council on a regular basis, given the risk associated with the funding and the deliverability. So can we just leave it with them to come back? And again, if you're not happy, actually that's a different way. If there's more information that can be provided that is useful to council, we will consider it then. So I'm really keen to keep this moving, Yanni, because we've got another item before 11, and then I've got externals coming in. So have you got anything different on anything
Just
else?
in regards to the cycleway along the Heathgate, so this is just on page. It's page 21, and just note. I mean, it's listed as I think green in the watch list, but the signs up say the work would be finished by the end of February, but those signs are still up, and you're showing it's at 70%. Are you able just to give us a sense of what communication is going out if the project's still tracking on time, and maybe if there's just a gap between communicating around where work is currently happening versus what the outcome's going to be?
All I can update you with is that it's continuing. If you want detailed questions, can you pop that through the office of the CE, and I'll come back with the detail. I'll get the project manager to give you a detailed response.
Right, but the best of our knowledge, that cycleway in terms of the overall project is still on track for 2025.
Yeah, and it's signalling a bring back on that one. If you read the graphs up ahead, that's a great example of a bring back one. It says to me it's progressing
Delivering ahead of time.
progressing well ahead
That's
of
been
the
asked
budget.
and answered. That's fine.
Yep.
Right. So that's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much, Andrew, for that. And it'd be good to get that tweak in the reporting. That'd be awesome. Okay.